5 years ago, I put up my demo of the original Old Blood Noise Endeavor's signal blender. A really awesome device that opened up a ton of creative gateways with its dual parallel effects loop and switchable clean blend. And now, 5 years later, it's back, but this time in full stereo and with a highly refined analog signal path made together with Jesse from 29 Pedals. So let's get soundscaping. Okay, in this demo, I'm gonna highlight 3 different stereo scenarios where I think the new Signal Blender stereo really shines. But you can of course also use this thing in mono, just like the original one. So if you want even more examples of what this thing is capable of, then I highly recommend you check out my demo of the original Signal Blender, as it contains a ton of fun different use cases that I just won't have time to cover here. Now, my favorite effects to run in parallel are of course delay and reverb, since this allows me to go a bit more ham on the wet mix while still retaining clarity, since the effects are running side by side and aren't cascading into each other like in a normal series setup. But what's really cool about Signal Blender Stereo is that you can turn your clean signal on and off. And this effectively gives you access to 2 presets on the fly. You know, a classic delay reverb sound with your clean signal in, and then boom, a full wet soundscape where you're just swimming in an ocean of ambience. Let's hear it. The coolest thing about Signal Blender Stereo, at least to me, is that it actually allows you to design your own stereo effects simply by using 2 different mono pedals in each loop. So in this example, I have The Keeley Angry Orange and the Death by Audio Octave Clang in the first loop for a hefty stereo fuzz. And in the second loop, I have the Old Blood Noise Endeavors XS V2 and Collision Devices Crush Ternal for a unique stereo delay that ping-pongs between a bit crush delay and a pitch-shifted echo. Now that I have this weird rig all set up and ready to go, let's just quickly use it to show Signal Blender's new Momentary bypass and trail switch. Okay, so I have to admit that creating stereo effects is getting addictive fast. So here's a pulsating filter on one side and a choppy tremolo on the other. Another effects category that's practically begging for parallel use is synth effects. Stacking synth pedals is practically impossible because they each create a very complex sound of their own, and stacking complex sounds quickly leads to chaos. But if you use them in parallel, then you can suddenly create incredibly intricate soundscapes, just like a keyboard player with multiple keyboards would. So in the first loop, I have the Meris Enso X set up as a bold bass synth, and in the second loop, I have the Source Audio Ultrawave set up as a rhythmic step sequencer. All right, we're done. It's over. No more soundscapes, I promise. Man, I really had to restrain myself here because with an open canvas like Signal Blender Stereo, your imagination just starts to run wild when you first get going. And the possibilities are seriously only limited by the pedals you have available in your collection. I have to say that build-wise, the new stereo version feels like a massive step up from the original. And that's not implying that the original was a bad build in any way. It's not, it's super solid, but this thing is just next level. It just feels and looks like the premium product that it is. Just like its predecessors, Signal Blender Stereo is a killer tool for all experimental sound designers out there. But it's also great for simpler bread and butter tasks like adding a clean blend to give your sound some more clarity on demand, or the trail circuit for preserving repeats in your true bypass delays and reverbs, or you can also just use it as a simple loop switcher. So no matter if you want to create new, uncharted soundscapes, or you just want to make your live or studio rig a bit more flexible for whatever life throws at you, then Signal Blender Stereo has got you covered. Alright, that's all the stereo signal blending I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider leaving a comment, a like, or hitting subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And like I said in the beginning, I really recommend you check out my demo of the original Signal Blender, as it contains some really cool tips and tricks. And finally, remember, you can get the Signal Blender Stereo and a ton of other gear over at thepedalzone.com. You've been awesome, and I've been your Soundscape Sherpa Stefan, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye!